What's up, Ajay? How's it going?
Well, Real Madrid's UCL retention hopes. That's up for one.
For one
Suffering
season,
becomes
for
this.
one season, both of you are allowed to ask me any question for this season. I'm not going to go back to history because I'm tired of going back to history. So yeah, and enjoy it while it lasts. So
Okay.
yeah, post
Yeah,
pictures
you
of
have
your
to,
rice
right?
cooker and everything, which is what everybody is doing for some
Oh yeah.
reason.
You mean like this, Ajay?
Did you really go and do it just for this stream?
Maybe, maybe not. Damn. Rice has never tasted this fine in my life, I tell you.
You
And
feel that way. Think about how I feel.
Well, an
you should
Arsenal
change the logo.
fan.
You should change the logo in your back, Chris. It should be Arsenal logo only. The way you're talking. So.
No, I don't want him. It's okay. Barca can keep him.
Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity Real Madrid hater, so it doesn't matter which team beats them. I'm a fan of that club.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just what a crazy week from Real Madrid, the club, the players, the fans, unreal, Ajay. Um, what what was your favorite tweet? So mine was Real Madrid learning to use ChatGPT to do one very cute little video. 90 minutes is too long at the Bernabéu in as many
Oh,
languages as possible.
yeah, I saw that. I think my favorite one was that thing where they were like, it seems Carlo Ancelotti raised his voice a little bit at training or some shit like that. I'm like, that is so cringy. Like, it's a manager doing his job. Why is this news? Like,
Hey,
I got like,
But one thing I've realized is many do not follow these Real Madrid channels regularly because they have been this cringy for like 20 years now.
yeah,
Many people
clearly.
like El Chiringuito, like as far as I can remember, they have produced content cringier than this. So it's like this is not a surprise for anybody who like follows Madrid. But yeah, for me the the worst video was when the Real Madrid official that admin tweeted that what is that the timer video and everything.
Oh
So that
man.
is like,
uh,
see, fan base is doing it is one thing. Even I would even say players doing it is one thing for their own motivation, whatever. But I don't know who told the social media admin that it's a good idea to like tweet that video. Um,
yeah,
and this entire strategy is just I don't know who came up with this. That was this 1 week of like hyping it up, advertising and everything. This is not going to lead to any kind of financial
it's
advantage.
the
There's
same
nothing.
kind of season you've had. You had one win in all of November, what, April or what? Like, what
Yeah,
gives you the confidence?
I feel like somebody at some point in the previous week before the game should have underplayed it. Actually, should have gone before the press and said we're not favorites. Like before the Manchester City game where Rodrigo hit that brace, where Carlo Ancelotti openly said, we are second best to City. He accepted it. He went into the game. We ended up winning. See, comebacks only happen when you least expect it. These kind of these kind of things when you hype it up for 1 week, you're not going to come back from the 3-0. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
it's
think
just
Real
I think
Madrid
I
drank
have a
too much
different
of
take.
their own Kool-Aid and they paid
Yeah.
the price for it. The hype was nowhere in line with the way the team has been playing the
Yeah.
entire season. So even
Yeah.
the Manchester City comeback, that was one of the best UCL runs that you had seen even before
true,
that. They came
true,
back like
true.
a couple of times to be there in the first place, and it made sense. And now it just feels like Rohit put it was just cringy at best.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think I don't blame anyone for doing that because you want to get the supporters on your side. Like, it's a huge ask, right? After we went up 3-0 in the first leg, I knew it was done. Like, you would have talked to me all week. I was not nervous, nothing. I mean, I know, yeah, it's like Real Madrid. And if there is any team in the history of this competition that can probably do it, either like it's Real Madrid, or maybe like you can talk about like peak Barcelona that has done something like this before. Like, that's not the Barcelona today. So with the atmosphere, everything, they were right to create that hype, and some of it is organic, some of it is pushed by like social media teams and things like that. But I was pretty sure they were not going to come back because people are still underestimating Arsenal based on their history in this competition, based on like past performances and something. This is like, mutual funds, right? Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This is a very, very different Arsenal. Mikel Arteta has been creating this special jail cell with this defense for the past like 4 seasons. We went from having a back four of Mustafi and Mavropanos to now having like Saliba and Gabriel. The biggest compliment I can play to Kiwior, man. Like, I didn't even miss Gabriel.
Oh
He
yeah,
was
I
a
was
complete
so impressed.
non-factor. And I mean, I was a little down on him, but I always knew that he was a competent, like competent, backup keeper, backup defender. How if Gabriel is one of the best defenders in this world right now, any player who's coming in to replace him is not going to be as good. But for a backup defender, to have someone of Kiwior's caliber playing in his preferred position, which is left centre back, he's perfectly competent. He really rose to that occasion.
To me,
So
that
yeah,
was really poetic because Real Madrid's players have a history of just randomly turning up. You would have like somebody like Joselu walk into the lineup out of nowhere and then score a brace against an Atletico Madrid to knock them out of the tournament or something. They have done that in the past. Like you would have like a Lucas Vasquez put in the performance of his life. In a lot of ways, the win, yes, dominating, as satisfying it was also very much the Real Madrid way. You had that controversial VAR intervention with a brief delay.
yeah,
Then you had like a rando player in Kiwior showing up and putting in the best matches of his life across 2 legs. Yeah.
It's quite
But
crazy. I think one thing is just want to close out on that atmosphere thought. They did a lot to create that game atmosphere. Like when you could hear it, like everyone in all the Madridistas believed, and rightly so. But they made a fatal mistake. They had that minute of silence before the game that just fizzled things out. Like this was not the game to have that minute of silence before kickoff, I think. Like that definitely affected things a little bit. Not to what extent, I don't know. So I think that was a bit of a misstep that I hope they don't repeat. Just a tiny thought on that. Go
I
ahead,
think
Ajay. Sorry I interrupted you.
no issues. I think they had to do it. So it's like it's one of those things you cannot avoid. But more than all of the atmosphere, we can keep saying atmosphere is the 12th man, whatever it is. But the 11 men on the pitch should like play well first of all. So
Yeah,
that
we
the
did.
atmosphere will contribute that extra 10% or whatever. Atmosphere will take care of it. But then your player should do something on the pitch to inspire fans. If you want fans chanting for 90 minutes, then you should be good enough to like go after the game and tell fans that you did not chant my name for 90 minutes. I played really well. So none of them deserve to do it after this game. It's like none of them were. I would say none of them are worth. None of them are worth a good atmosphere, I would say. And a point about Kiwior. Kiwior played very well because the atmosphere, the occasion, and everything. The club you're playing against. Kiwior played very well, covering for Gabriel too. Not an easy task. But I have to say, the strategy. So basically, Kiwior has to. Kiwior was defending aerially, I would say, for like 80%, 90% of the work. We're trying aerial crosses always. And who he was defending against? Mbappe, who was not at all good in the air. And the other ones never. We don't have the players to like to just get like stuck into the center backs and like give them a tough time in the air or something like that. It's just I'm not. There's not a point against Kiwior. There's more of a point against my own players rather than Kiwior or Saliba. It's just that they don't really try anything. The only time the press was intense was when Arsenal scored that goal. Everybody wanted to press. They pressed for like 5 minutes. They scored one goal out of it. They made Saliba make a mistake. And other than that, for that 5-10 minutes, it felt like Real Madrid were never in the game for even for like I don't know, like 2-3 minutes. Other than that, it was like 1 30-second one pass or something, which suddenly made you get up from your seat. But that's it. That's it. More than 20-30 seconds. I was never like hooked into Madrid. Especially after that VAR check. I felt like the atmosphere died after that VAR check. And when the referee cancelled the penalty, the first half, the stadium was like dead for the next 15 minutes. So nothing happened. And Saka scored a great goal.
Refereeing calls all your life. It is quite the reality check for that to happen.
I want to add one thing. See, I'm okay with saying that Real Madrid have they have had some many decisions like go their way and everything. But one thing I won't accept is when Barcelona fans say it, because during their remontada against Paris Saint-Germain, please go and watch 20-minute highlight of their remontada. Every one of their player was, whenever they entered the penalty box, they were going to the ground immediately. And I lost count of the number of penalty calls that they wanted to be given their way. So it's like,
speaking of penalties,
it's just people do it, Chris. My point, sorry, I'll just finish off that point. My point is like players do it when they're very desperate, 3-0, 4-0. You need something to like push it. I would say both penalties were soft, but that Mbappe penalty was, I'm not going to argue that it's a penalty just because the first one was given. It's just, there was nothing in it. So
I have this bias as a Barca fan, but I don't think Arsenal deserve that penalty either. And I also have a problem with the rules itself here on what you judge to be a penalty. Like you have the ball going into the keeper's hands like every day of the week, and then there is some guy getting fouled in the edge of the box. He's never gonna reach.
Yeah, I think.
Like, it's not,
Yeah,
technically it could have been a penalty, but I don't think something like that should even be considered a penalty. We need like a fundamental change in the way like we look at penalty.
Yeah, I will add one question for Rohit. Sorry, I'll just add one question for Rohit. Do you think it would have been given in the Prem? Because people had like very varying opinions on it. Do you think it would have been given in the Premier League? I think you're like the right person to like talk about it.
I've tried my best over the past 20 plus years I've been watching football to come up with some kind of pattern recognition to figure out, okay, what is a penalty, what isn't, what explains a referee's decision, what doesn't, especially in the Premier League, and it's impossible. So there is no consistent stand. That's my biggest gripe with PGMOL in general. There is no consistency. Now, I'll definitely say it was soft. Technically, it was a penalty. If you think about it, he was holding the player and all that, and Merino did really well to sell it at the moment. I was totally fine. Like, we had all moved on. The game had moved on. Suddenly, I'm like, oh, why are they pulling this back? And oh, is the penalty call? Where was that? Like, because I've been watching the Premier League, it's usually not given, something like this. So I was very surprised to see it given. I'm okay with Saka missing it also because it was never in my mind that we'll have that opportunity. So it's okay. The second one, Mbappe's thing was not even like shouldn't have even been called, but it's okay. At least in the Champions League, the referee doesn't have so much ego that they will not go back. That their friends who are manning the VAR will not go back and check and call him out. They took their time about it. They called it correctly, and the referee was humble enough to say, "Okay, I'll reverse this call, take away." Because giving Mbappe a penalty there, having Real Madrid score, and giving Declan Rice a yellow card that would have made him miss the PSG
even if
first
Real
leg,
Madrid
that would
didn't
have
come
been
back,
ridiculous.
imagine losing Rice for the semi-finals. That would have been
ridiculous. So I think on the balance, it was good. A couple of things I do want to call out, like before we move on to the next game, is Bukayo Saka. He is like slowly getting back to his best. He missed the penalty. He's like a goldfish. Forgot about it. Scored the first goal. Chipped it, in fact, over Courtois. So that's incredible, like composure and mental toughness.
You should also call out what was probably one of the worst penalty kicks too.
It was really bad. Like I don't even know why he tried to do that. I think so if you see, he has a misstep in his up. I think he was like, "Oh, I'll be clever and try to do the Panenka." But in these games, I'll tell you something. Like in these kind of high pressure moments, Courtois seems like 30% larger than he actually is. Like somehow, he's already a giraffe. He seems to have grown like extra 5 feet or something somehow. And, I would have been fine with Bukayo blasting it and, Courtois like stopping it out of it. Like, okay, this is a good save. It was a poor penalty, deserved to be saved, I think, but it's okay. Martinelli, imagine putting in that sprint in the 93rd minute after constantly running up and down. He's been quietly coming back to his best over the past like 6 or 7 games, and he finally got his flowers. Like, he had a shot in the first half that Courtois saved, and he's just been, going like from getting slowly back to his best. Really love that. Miles Lewis Kelly, like it looks like he's played games at this level like for years at this point. This is the first time this is his first season. And he's like, in the first team, and he's just bossing it. This is incredible. Couple of things. Jude Bellingham not getting a yellow card. He was very petulant. Like, I felt like, the referee did let him and even Rudiger get away with a lot of things. Rudiger clearly steps on top of Miles Lewis Kelly. It's just like, I know you're losing and stuff, but it's like an 18-year-old kid. Rudiger is like a professional who's been around the game for years, and he's like a 32-year-old guy. It's
Also,
just childish.
style of defending, so I would.
Some people, I just want to add one thing. Even inside Real Madrid, if you see, I know outside it could look like this Real Madrid player not getting a card or whatever, but Kamavinga always gets a card for those kind of challenges, while Rudiger always gets it. It was the same before. Ramos will always get a card. Casemiro will always get away with it. So there is always. Some always have a repeat. I think Chris memory gone back to like so many occasions where that happened.
Messi on the pitch and getting away.
It's just refereeing based on reputation has been happening in football for decades. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to change at all. So
It doesn't make sense for us to talk about it. But I do have a question for Ajay before we move on from Real Madrid Arsenal game. Mbappe, first season, and I know, like, I've come on the UCL stream and multiple times. I've always been high on Mbappe. He's gonna come good, and he has delivered the goods for it's his first full season, right?
yeah, first full season. Yeah,
Just feels like really long from when the saga has started. But the reality, the bottom line is, Real Madrid are literally, I want to say, two El Clasicos away from going trophyless. One in the Copa del Rey finals, and the other El Clasico in the
Yeah.
league, which is gonna practically decide the league title. And based on current form and based on how Barca has played Real Madrid, somehow we head into those games as favorites. And there is this discourse on how Mbappe has completely like wrecked the Real Madrid system. And at some point, you have to, pay attention to that discourse, because 12 months ago, Real Madrid were flying, unstoppable, UCL champions and La Liga champions. How much merit is there to that take from online fans?
Yeah. I mean, it's been there right from the first week when he joined Madrid. There is some truth in that discussion, in the sense that he comes into a system and he's not going to press, and he doesn't have the kind of off the ball awareness to say, I'm going to press in these moments, I'm not going to press here because there's no point in pressing right now. Like, either nobody taught him or he was not ready to learn it at PSG. I know which is true, but Luis Enrique got rid of him because he was not ready to learn it at PSG. So he comes into a system which I feel Ancelotti's work was a bit underrated to make it as solid as it was in 23-24, because in 22-23, the season before, it was very open. We lost La Liga to I would say a weak Barcelona team that probably were not like outright favorites or something like that to win the league, and we were not good enough in the Champions League. We were very open, and Benzema goes to Saudi, and we get Bellingham, and Carlo completely changes the setup. He goes from 4-3-3 to 4-4-2. He puts Bellingham on top of a diamond midfield, because sometimes he plays as a striker, sometimes he plays as an attacking midfielder. And that system was so defensively solid. I feel like it was underrated. The work that Ancelotti put into it to make that system work was underrated. And now all it takes to break a system is like one player. It is true. So Mbappe comes in. What I would say is, at least off the ball, if he has the awareness to occupy places and kind of stop teams from building from the back very easily, or at the very least something like that, even if you're not going to press intensely. So he's not doing either. And in the second leg of, I think even in the first leg, he was not really making those runs off the shoulder of the defender, which Ronaldo used to make a lot of them whenever he played centrally, because Ronaldo was not good at holding up play or something like that. He was not like Harry Kane or like a Zlatan or somebody who could like pin the two center backs and bring others into play. So what Ronaldo used to do is, he used to keep making diagonal runs or whatever past the shoulder of the defender, just to stretch the defensive line, just to put that seed of doubt in their mind, like anything can happen. All it takes is one long ball or whatever. But Mbappe in phases does it very well. He goes like 2-3 weeks where he keeps doing it, and he gets rewarded for it with goals, assists, or whatever. Then he goes like another 2-3 weeks where he does nothing, like none of these. You could also argue that maybe our team, as a team, we didn't give him the opportunity to make that run. But then some part of the blame has to go to him. So I would say 50% of the blame goes to Mbappe for this season, because he did come into this team. We paid a lot of signing on fees and everything. So it's not like it is not exactly a free transfer like many think. We just paid the money to a different person. That's it. So the blame goes to him too, for sure, because he comes into a very, very successful Madrid team, and Ronaldo did not come into a very successful Madrid team. So it is a different scenario in that way. So he has to take part of that blame. He either has to start pressing properly, or he has to learn off the ball what position should he occupy, so that he hinders the opposition team from building up so easily from the back. So he has to do either of these two. Hopefully we get a hands-on coach this summer, because I do think this is the end of Carlo Ancelotti, even if he wins the Copa del Rey. Right now, these players, they need hands-on coaching. They need something like what Ten Hag did in his second week with United, where he made everybody run 13 kilometers or something like that. I want to see you do it, because right now it feels like, except Jude and Valverde, nobody's ready to press or do anything properly on the pitch for 90 minutes. So I feel this team needs it.
Yeah, speaking of coaches, special shout out to Mikel Arteta for coaching this masterful 5-1 win without a striker.
The smoothest segue I've seen.
Without a striker. Like,
Arsenal had
we have Mikel Merino come in and have all open goal involvements. All three of the open play goals that we had Mikel Merino scored one of them, assisted two of them. I mean, getting like the best out of the players that you have, those are what the top coaches do. And Mikel Arteta has just cemented that in my mind. So special shout out to him. But yeah, speaking of, Mikel Arteta, let's talk about like the team where he's apparently home. That's his like spiritual home, which is Barcelona. But talk about it, Chris. Tell me more about what your feelings were when...
First things first, Arteta passed his audition with flying colors. I remember Rudiger's last game for Chelsea when he rocked up to Bernabéu and put in a man of the match performance and showed the fans, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you from next season onwards. I felt like Arteta did that for us last night.
Yes, you don't have enough levers to get him. Trust me.
Please.
And you're being very ungrateful to Flick, Chris. You're being very ungrateful to him right now. But
exactly.
Well, that's what 3-1
the real
against
audition will be when we
beat
your ass in May in the final.
Please. 3-1 against a 10th placed Bundesliga team.
Yeah, okay. Get there first. Try to beat Inter first.
Thank you for what you have done.
Oh, you started the underdog gimmick now, huh? You rested it for like 4 months. you used to do it till January, then you suddenly became very confident from January to now. Now you're back with the underdog gimmick.
Yeah, but yeah, actually, like Dortmund, they had no business being in the quarterfinals, to be honest. But I mean, they gave it a game with the second leg. This is like, I think it was very emblematic of this Barcelona team. They have like amazing attack, but sometimes their defense just, what the hell is happening there, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me more, Chris. I don't watch your team enough.
Right. See, the 4-0 scoreline at the first leg was little flattering in my mind, because Dortmund deserved to have at least a couple of goals. Gracie especially was fantastic up top as their number 9. And he essentially finished the chances that he missed in the first leg. And that's why he has a hat-trick. And if the game had been, 4-2 or 4-3 even, which was very reasonable considering how many chances Dortmund had in the first leg, if that were the case, I feel like Barca wouldn't have been this complacent. I don't want to throw out any excuses, but we did not have, in my mind, two of the important players to the system that Flick plays, that is Pedri and Kubarsi. Both of them started off from the bench. And it's also a testament to how important Pedri is to this team. I know Lamine Yamal gets all the accolades and Rafinha is, super efficient with his finishing and all. But without Pedri, you just don't have that control in games, especially UCL nights. And if you remember, there was this period in November where Barca hardly, won any games. We had like a 10-point lead in La Liga, which we squandered to Real Madrid. That was also like Pedri's worst month for the club. So that's not a coincidence. But that still doesn't, justify taking the game as close as Barca did in the second leg. Ronald Araujo, I know he had a great game. He's our captain, but it's no secret that he's not your typical, pass out from the back, high line player. He gets away with a lot of his mistakes because he has the pace. Same with Jules Koundé. So I don't know if it's similar to how Ajay compared Mbappe, but Koundé has his moments where he does everything right, over a 3-week period, and then he has these brain fade moments. For example, the Dortmund's first goal, like he was the one playing everybody on site. He has that occasional mistake in him, and it's not the first or second or third time that has happened in the UCL. But yeah, I don't want to read too much into the result because it was done and dusted. So a lot of these games, when you just look at the scoreline, they seem more closer than they are. Just like how Rohit pointed out that he was never worried about Real Madrid coming back. Even when Dortmund scored a couple of goals, it didn't really look like we were gonna play bad enough to, actually lose the 4-goal advantage that we had.
Yeah, one thing I want to add, and I have a question for you as well. I watched like bits and pieces of the because I was watching the Via PSG game. So I would say the Flick system, one of the main aspects of Flick system is the press. So, and it does take a lot of energy out of everybody on the pitch to like get the press right for 90 minutes or whatever. I have a feeling, I might be wrong here. Probably Flick said we do have a 4-goal advantage, and you don't have to go all out for this game and end up being injured for the rest of the season because we're going for the treble this season. So it's okay. It is okay if you like concede or whatever. Just play with a bit of common sense and just don't make mistakes while playing out from the back or something like that. But we don't have to do everything 10 out of 10 this game, because this is probably the only game in this title run in where you can loosen up and probably conserve energy, because any other game that doesn't matter in La Liga, 20th place team, 19th place team, you have to give your 100% from now on. So I wouldn't read too much into it. I wouldn't read too much into it. Dortmund always end up being in the quarterfinals no matter what. I don't know how they do it though. So I don't know. In recent years, I feel like more than Atletico Madrid, they have been in the quarterfinals or semifinals or whatever.
6 quarterfinals in a row or something.
Yeah, because last year quarterfinal they went to Wanda and beat. They scored 4 in Wanda and beat Atletico. They just have a habit of doing stuff like this. So not a lot of people score 4 in Wanda. So sorry, not a lot of teams score 4 in Wanda. So. Yeah, but it's a weird game, but yeah, let's not talk too much about it. So
yeah, I think it was a well-deserved win. Is out of the 2 games, out of the 4 games, like these were the 2 games where I was pretty sure, like I was sure Arsenal were going to go through. I was sure Barcelona were going to go through. The really fun ones were the other 2 games. The funnest game actually of this was PSG against Aston Villa. With PSG kind of, I think, showed a bit of their inexperience at this level. They were a little bit too casual, and were it not for that Nuno Mendes goal right at the end in the first leg, they would have been in real trouble. Like Villa were all over them, and it's not that Villa, I watch a lot more of Villa than you, but they're also an emotional team, and they are really not, they're very inconsistent. So to watch them actually put together this game, it was more, I think, like it was equally PSG's fault for being a little too casual about it, because you're letting John McGinn, he's a perfectly serviceable midfielder, boss the game in midfield. It's, kind of surprising to watch. He was doing his job really well. They were using runners on the side, like launching it into the runners and trying to get in behind PSG. Those two goals from PSG earlier, I was like, oh, this is done and dusted. And then they came back with a bang. It's quite crazy. Yeah, it's just.
I also want to add one point about the atmosphere. The atmosphere in Villa Park was amazing to watch.
It's incredible. Yeah.
It was especially after, I think, when after John McGinn scored, it just went to another level, and they never stopped chanting for like 90 minutes. So it still feels like PSG, when PSG in an away stadium or whatever, it feels like they can crumble against anybody. It doesn't matter. Aston Villa have not played a UCL game like this in ages. So if they can go to Aston Villa and feel the pressure, even after playing so well in their own stadium or whatever, with the team being very well coached, everybody on a high, it feels like, for me, it feels like they can definitely crumble against Arsenal. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think before we go too much into that, I feel like we'll sum it up with our thoughts at the end. I think PSG, they're showing their youth and inexperience. That's just it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what
That's a
got
good point,
them
actually.
up. I think the inexperience is also what made them, go past Liverpool, because they didn't have any baggage. They played with freedom.
Right.
And when they head into games as favorites, they really don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, see, I'll tell you one more thing. Like, Liverpool really thrive on the games that are basketball games. So if it's like end to end, Liverpool also have like game changers that can, just like affect the game in a flash. Salah and Diaz and all these guys. It's like, if you try to make it a basketball game, Liverpool will have you. And somehow that's also actually PSG's USP at this point. This version of PSG, like, they have like an incredible front three. Like Farad Shekelia, like adding him was amazing, an amazing move. But they also have Barcola and Doué and all these guys. They're really good.
Oh, he didn't
So-
say Dembele.
I was wondering why you were booing Doué.
I was like, what's happening? Dembele, like, new lease of life. Enrique is playing him as a striker. Like, it's just incredible to watch. That's the real remontada that we all were talking about. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like, when it becomes end to end and there is a lack of control, the game changers up front, they make a huge difference. And Dembele and all these guys are like, they have it in them to make it. That's why Liverpool, they were able to win against Liverpool. They made it the same against Villa to some extent, but they were just not, it's just like somehow they were having an off day or whatever. The away atmosphere also obviously got to them. So what I'll say is Luis Enrique is putting together a really good group of young players. They'll grow together and, they'll be a real force in this competition over the coming years. So more to come on that. I just think that they have that little bit of naivety in this tournament that is susceptible. So, which is why I have them as the least favorite to win this tournament at this point. But again, like I said, we'll get to that. I don't have anything more to add to it, to this game. But the most interesting tactical game actually was Bayern against Inter. This was the one that I was like, least sure of the outcome of, because Inter are a good team and they have a really good coach and they went into it with a lead, but it wasn't a very big lead. And when you have like an all-timer like Harry Kane on your side, anything can happen. Like, people seriously underrate Harry Kane because he played at Spurs, doesn't have the big titles to his name. He's quite possibly one of the best Premier League strikers in the
I don't
history.
think anybody
of the game.
disagrees with that, Rohit, or even
No.
contested.
Like,
Just an
No,
Arsenal
like
chant.
no, Chris. Even inside Premier League, people do it because he has never been close. He was close to winning the Premier League only once. So other than that, he has never won a title, and that always ends up playing a role. So it's
let me rephrase what I'm saying, Chris. What I'd say is Harry Kane doesn't get the hype he deserves. He's one of the greatest ever Premier League players, in my opinion. And I have no shame in saying that, even though he played for Spurs, because my eyes don't lie to me. So if anything, Real Madrid should have gotten him over Mbappe, if you ask me. He would have been
Carlo Ancelotti, I forgot to add that point. I just want to add, like, Carlo Ancelotti, the only player who he asked for explicitly was Harry Kane. So that everybody confirms inside the club. Every news report, everything did.
Yeah,
But
and
he ended up getting somebody else in Kylian Mbappe and not Harry Kane.
right.
And yeah, so yeah.
And if you ask me, going back to that point, like people might like once the Harry Kane ship had sailed, there was one interesting news item that I had seen a couple of seasons ago, which was that Real Madrid wanted Kai Havertz. You know how incredible Kai Havertz would have been in this Real Madrid team? He would have been perfect, like perfect for this team. You think about the runners you have on both sides. You have a focal point like Havertz. That guy is 6'4". He wins so many headers. His aerial duel numbers are off the charts. I'm so glad he plays for us, even though he's not the finisher we want him to be. He does exactly the right role that we need him to in this team, and he would have been incredible at Real Madrid.
Hey, Ajay, on an unrelated note, can you send me the he trying to gas it up meme?
Yeah. So coming back to Inter versus Bayern, Company, I think he's a bit of a fraud. Honestly, he's failed up.
I thought you were going to say the opposite. That was
No,
amazing to watch you say it.
No, I don't rate him. I don't rate him because every time, every time you have these former players come to, they expect them to be like a coach of the caliber of like a Xabi Alonso or an Arteta or something. It doesn't always happen. Not everyone is of that caliber. No, and it's just I know Bayern have had like their injuries and things like that, but it's just they're not at that level, man. They have real game changers on their side, and that's kind of kept them alive in the competition so far. But they need to do some serious soul searching to see how they're going to replace the likes of Sane, Gnabry. And Kane, he's going to be like 32 or something. They're going to have to replace him too at some point. Musiala is injured. I'm glad they've signed him up to a new contract. The best thing they could have also done, which they have, is sign up Kimmich again. And after like announcing that Muller is going to be retiring and all that, he saved their ass in the first leg, gave them a fighting chance at this at Inter Stadium. I don't know if they still play at the San Siro or not.
Yeah, they still do play at the San Siro.
Okay, I thought there was some refurbishment or something. Anyway,
yeah. So what? Sorry. Finish your point. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it was quite a close game, but in the end, Inter were going to be the better team. I rated them a bit higher than Bayern. This version of Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have a lot of history in this competition, but I think they, I knew that Inter would mostly go through, but it was still anything could happen, that kind of thing. And when when Harry Kane scored, I was like, wow, this is a game now. Too bad I was watching the Real Madrid game because UEFA scheduling. I have a rant about it coming up at some point.
Yeah, but one thing I want to add is Bayern played very well. They actually played very well for the last 20-30 minutes, I would say, after Company made the substitutions. And they have a very good past record at San Siro. They defeated them in like the past 4 games in San Siro. And in this game, they were not beaten. They drew the game. They were not bad. I don't know the overall opinion about Company among Bayern fan base. I feel like Bayern and PSG are like 2 clubs where you need to like go very close in the UCL every season to survive as a manager the next season. So it doesn't matter what you do in the league, whether you're first or second. You need, I feel like semi-final is a minimum requirement at Bayern or something like that. So I don't know what they're going to do with Company this summer, continue with them or not, but I have to give some credit to Thomas Muller, 35 years old. He still has the ability to do something out of nothing. Like in the second leg, it felt like he was just standing. It literally felt like he was just standing there, moving around or whatever. He produced a shot, and out of nothing, the keeper had to make a great save to like parry it down. Else, it would have been the game would have gone into extra time. So. And he did this 3-4 times. He did this 3-4 times throughout in the past 30 minutes of which I watched. And with Gnabry, I was very surprised when I saw Gnabry coming off the bench. I thought he had gone somewhere else. They still have him. They still don't play him. I don't know if he will survive the next season. Bayern need to get Olise has had a good season. They probably have to build on Olise. Probably build the team around him or Musiala. They have to pick and choose one and like completely build the team around them.
Has to be Musiala.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Olise, Musiala, Kane are like starters for me in the Bayern team next season. They need one more player. They need one more good player to get the team working, because they have like now Kimmich has a long-term contract and everything. They have stability elsewhere. But one signing that hasn't worked for them at all is Min Jae Kim, and they have been getting their centre back signings wrong a lot recently. They got it along with Dillit. They got it wrong with Min Jae Kim. So they're not getting that centre back pairing right.
He scored yesterday, Eric Dyer. I'm like, that's a big black mark against Inter. Imagine letting Eric Dyer score against you. Come on. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, you're right. They need to do a good rebuild of their defense for sure. And as you said, like get another add that inevitability in attack that they don't have. Barcola, maybe. He might be like looking to leave PSG. That was
right.
my
All
attack.
right. So, Ajay has to run away. There is only so much Real Madrid criticism that a fan can take. But let's move on to predictions. So Arsenal versus PSG, I'll give you my thoughts. I see Arsenal heading into this as favorites. We touched upon PSG's naivety and inexperience. And at a stage like this, I feel Arteta has seen those big games one too many times than PSG have. Like he has done it with Man City. He has played against like so many top caliber oppositions in the PL. PSG do not have that kind of experience. And let's not forget a good group of players from this setup. They still carry a lot of scars from the time when they lost to Bayern, or even going all the way back to the remontada loss against Barca. I think Arsenal, on the other hand, even though they're very similar, very bold, young squads with a couple of pacey wingers up top, there are so many similarities, but I still think Arsenal should get through this.
Yeah, I would say that
Not
Arsenal
comfortably, but I would pick them as favorite to begin with.
Yeah, I think I would say that Arsenal are probably 60%. I'd give them a 60% chance of going through to the final. The one stock falling for me this week was Thomas Partey just not keeping his cool and getting himself a yellow. That means he's ruled out on the first leg against PSG, which is a bit of a blow because we have Jorginho injured as well. So I think that's the one area of concern that I have. But it's okay. I think with Declan Rice, I think we have enough in midfield. We can probably have Miles Lewis-Kelly step in more into midfield, and we could potentially see a midfield pivot of Miles Lewis-Kelly and Rice in that game with Calafiori at left back, which would still be a decent back four for me.
Sorry to interrupt. One thing I learned from the Aston Villa game is, if you bombard PSG's midfield physically, don't let them get on the ball. Like, try to harass them like properly, like just foul them, keep fouling them for 20-30 minutes. Try to get your fans into the game. And I feel like once you stop Vitinha, I feel like Vitinha is probably Marco Verratti's successor in this PSG team. So once you stop him from getting the ball for like 10 to 20 minutes, then it feels like PSG kind of lose their confidence a bit and start trying like different things, which is like trying a long kick from Donnarumma, trying to get like quicker to Dembele or whatever. So they tried that a bit with Aston Villa. I don't know if they will mimic the same thing with the Arsenal game, but it just gave me a hint of maybe if you go all out aggressively and stop their midfielders from getting the ball. So that could be a strategy. If you had Thomas Partey, it would have been very easy, to be honest. It would have been a no-brainer for Arteta to do it. So now I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll still do it. I think the main thing is to, like I said, PSG's main strengths are their forward line. You starve them from getting the ball, they're not going to do shit. And this is actually Arsenal's hype man-to-man press that Odegaard orchestrates. I think that's the advantage of it, is that they cut it out during the build-up phase. It frustrates the keeper, forces them to go long. You start putting pressure on Donnarumma. He's not the best with the ball at his feet. You'll make mistakes, pounce on them. It just takes like 1 or 2 minutes of magic. And suddenly you leave Bukayo Saka one-on-one with the right back and with their left back, and it's done, right? That, like, if you notice Arsenal's game, it's they do all of this rotational and positional play. Everything that they do is to give Bukayo Saka 10 seconds one-on-one against the fullback. That's it. That's their entire game plan. He makes magic happen. So again, like I said, I'll give Arsenal 60% chance to go through, probably even higher, because I saw the game, the PSG game, and they have that little bit of naivety, but they make up for it in attacking talent. So we'll see how it goes. And between Barcelona and Inter, Barcelona, it's actually going to be a really good game, because Inter are the exact kind of team that can hold Barcelona, frustrate them, and kind of get a goal in, and after that make it very hard for them to score. But again, Barcelona's attacking talent is like the best in the world at this point, I think, most consistent. So it's going to be a really, really good matchup. So if there are two teams in the world that I want to see this Barcelona against, it's Inter or Arsenal, and I might get my wish. So that's it's the team out of all the semi-finalists, the team I would hate for Arsenal to face is actually Inter, because I think it's going to be very similar to like Arsenal versus Atleti in the way it'll be a chess game. Not as much against a free-flowing attack like Barcelona or PSG.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if I had to rank the favorites for the UCL, I would say I would give a 30% chance to Barcelona, 25% to Arsenal and Inter, and 20% to PSG.
Well, the man does check out. I don't want to comment too much on Inter because I haven't seen one game of Inter, and that has a lot to do with UEFA's absolutely, bullshit of a scheduling. I do not understand why you would want to have like two knockout matches where the brackets are predetermined at the same time. I
It's insane.
cannot see like any logic to a decision like that. From a logistics perspective, doesn't make sense. From the TV rights, or TV viewership rather than rights, it doesn't make sense. And we keep missing out on great games because we have to follow our favorite team than the ability to watch all the games.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think you can fault American sports for a lot of things, but this is one thing they get right. You see, like the NFL playoffs, they never have clashes. They time it to perfection. It's also a question of maximizing revenue, right? How much revenue you'll maximize by just having this, having the games happen one after the other. They are really missing a trick with this. They need to rethink it. One good thing about this new format of the Champions League is that 3 of the top 4 teams in the league stage are actually in the semi-finals. Doing away with the away goals rule, unrelated, was an amazing thing. You see teams going for it across both legs now. A lot of things that UEFA has gotten right. I think the 2 things is, one, the scheduling issue. They need to fix it just so we can appreciate these games more, watch more of them. And the second thing is that this weird like home and away goal thing, like I don't understand how Arsenal can be like, third in the league stages, but then in the quarterfinals and semifinals, they're playing the second leg away from home. Like usually you have the top seeded team or better team. Like,
I think it's just a matter of, picking from the whatever the pots.
Yeah, and I'm saying that it's ridiculous because if you look at the history of this competition, teams that play the second leg at home are 60%, have a 60% chance of going through, as opposed to 40% if you play the first leg at home. So if you did well in the league stages, it should have an advantage beyond the round of 16 also. Like that's how the seeding works.
Nah, I think
No, this is how the
that
seeding
gives it.
works in. So again, I'm pulling from American sports here. That what is the reward if you have like a league stage? What is the reward for you beyond the round of 16? There has to be something more, and I
I
think
wouldn't
that's something that they
fully
need to
agree with this
rethink.
because the reward is you get to face a team that's that ended up much lower on the league table. So that's it.
Yeah, again,
And
that's like if and but, right? Like there are like look at PSG. They were really not that great during the league stages, but they're actually a very strong team.
well,
So
that's I mean
it's
that means
debatable.
they
It's
pull their
debatable.
socks up at some point,
Yeah,
right?
it's debatable. My
Um,
opinion is that they
yeah.
need to
I would
change this
actually
narrative.
argue if a team has managed to come this far, punishing them for something that happened. When do these league matches happen? Like in December or something. So having it as luck of the draw is still fine to me. And your
Yeah,
point about 60%, 40% away, second leg, I feel like that's heavily influenced by the away goals rule. Now
that is
that
true.
we've done away with it, I feel it should make much less of a difference. The
Yeah,
12 man can
I
do
think that's a
only
good
so
point.
much.
That's a good point.
So I am fine with it as it is. I
It's
don't.
just a nit. I think I have a bigger problem with the scheduling of the
Yeah.
games than this.
All
But
right.
yeah, I think
So
we have a really exciting group of semi-final
it's been
games
a
coming
while
up.
since we had like arguably four of the best teams in their
Yeah,
respective domestic leagues actually rocket up to the semifinals, with all
yeah,
due respect to an Aston Villa, or I know like you have like even Spurs went to finals, you usually have like an Ajax, uh, you know just sneak through. I think it's got a lot to do with the new format, but
yeah.
I could be snobbish, being a Barca fan here, but I like, the best and the
Yeah, but
best
I
of
think
the
it's
best.
also the most consistent in this format, right? Over the Champions League season. Like these have been like, the most consistent.
Exactly.
Like Arsenal, Barcelona, and Inter have been the most consistent team. Um, if in all fairness, Liverpool should have been here, but again, like PSG really showed up and they comprehensively beat them over two legs. Like even that win in Paris was a robbery, right? So shit happens. I think you'll always see some of these. I'd love to see like sometimes it's always fun as a neutral to watch like some random team like Lille make it up to the semifinals or something like that. Dortmund last season, right? They had no business being in the semifinals, let alone the finals, but they rocked up to it. So yeah, sometimes just things just happen. But I think this is two really exciting semifinals coming up. I think a perfect
And
match for each other. The defensive solidity on one part versus the attacking flair on the other. And I am pretty confident saying that we're probably going to see like a Barcelona Arsenal final. Uh, Maybe we get our revenge after all. It's been 19 years, so I think it's time. And in a weird coincidence, like both the Arsenal men and women's team knocked out Real Madrid in the quarterfinals of their respective Champions League campaigns. Arsenal and Arsenal men and women both play the French champions in the semi-final. So Arsenal ladies are playing Lyon, and we might actually see Arsenal versus Barcelona final in both the men and women's Champions League. So it's
yeah,
just a weird coincidence, but yeah, it's one of those
that
things
would be
that
really
makes
fun.
football
Regardless of
exciting.
which two teams makes it to the finals, they would have thoroughly deserved their place,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
uh, that's all you want as a fan at the end
Yeah,
of the day.
anyone in the final, I think you can say that. Like I said,
Just
like it's
watch
close,
me
right?
sing a completely different off-tune narrative. If
Sorry.
Barca doesn't make it past Inter,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
mean,
going to be as
it's
rational
still
as
a
I am now.
possibility, right? That's what I'm saying. Like it's not again with my probabilities. I said 30%, 25, 25, and 20. Like they're all good enough to beat each other. That's the thing. So it's been the most evenly matched Champions League semifinal in like a while, I think. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Right. Yes, let's wrap with that, and we'll be back with our Premier League reviews next week.
Oh yeah,
as well.
that's still happening. Oh, I
Yeah,
forgot about
yeah,
that.
nobody cares.
Imagine going from the Bernabéu. I think Arsenal are playing Ipswich or something. I'm like, dude, who cares? I'm probably not even going to watch because,
Oh yeah, of course, of
yeah,
course. Only if you had
I
made your trips
look,
to the
man.
likes of Ipswich Town earlier in
As
the season, you could have cared.
yeah, as a married guy with kids, I get like one game every 2 weeks. I'm going to pick the Real Madrid game over the Ipswich
Of
game to
course,
watch
of
live.
course. Yeah.